Yay Networks.
Welcome back to In the Cards and Stars. I'm your host, Brit Mogensen, and we've got a really fun show today. So if you guys have noticed, which I'm sure you have, Megan Fox is finally back on Instagram. So we're going to do a little bit of a pop culture tarot segment, and we're going to talk about what those captions meant, because she's only speaking in tarot now, but luckily you guys have a friend who can interpret that. So we're going to talk about that first. And then that kind of got me thinking about like self-love, really finding your talents and gifts. And you'll see why when we talk about Megan Fox. I was like, there's so much of that in astrology. So then we're going to talk about that. I'm going to tell you guys where you can find your gifts, your talents, just things to kind of make you feel good about yourself today. So we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to do a little tarot reading on Megan Fox, since she is our celebrity focus. We're going to be using her birth chart as well to talk about all the different placements. And it's going to be fun. So let's get into it. Oh, wait, before we get into it, I have to tell you guys about my weekend because it coincides with what we talked about last time on the podcast. So remember how we were talking about like the Sagittarius full moon on June 3rd? Okay. Well, I didn't really have anything planned. So I was kind of like, what's going to happen at this full moon? Is it going to be something like not so great? Like, I don't know. Whatever. I can be pessimistic. But it was actually something fantastic. And this is astrology in the wild, another like confirmation that this stuff really works. I ended up going out of nowhere. My husband just like got these tickets for us and was like, "You want to go?" And I was like, "Absolutely," because it's Gemini season and we say yes. So I went to this thing called the Big Slick. It's this Kansas City charity event that happens every single year, and it's benefiting the Children's Mercy Hospital. So it's like such a good cause. And so it was like partying for a good cause. So I'm like, I'm in. So we go, and it's hosted by Jason Sudeikis, Paul Rudd. Who else? You guys, there were so many people because they're all like Kansas City natives. Oh, Pat Mahomes was there, and so was Travis Kelce. I'm like trying to remember all the people, but it's this big group of people. And we also saw, oh my gosh, the guy from Hot Ones. I love watching Hot Ones. They did a live Hot Ones thing between like Travis Kelce and his team. Anyway, it was a whole thing. The details are a little fuzzy because I was just having such a Sagittarius full moon good time. And the unexpected thing that happened that was very positive, we actually won at the auction tickets to go see the Drew Barrymore show. Like, I'm over the moon. I hope you guys had just as fabulous of a full moon. That was on June 3rd. The event was on June 3rd as well. And I told you guys it was in my 11th house of like social groups. Anyway, it's still geeking me out. I can't even believe it. All right, let's talk about Megan Fox now. She recently started posting on Instagram. She's been away for several months, and this all kind of happened. Remember, there was kind of like that breakdown. It was really sad. I think everybody really felt kind of bad for her. She and Machine Gun Kelly, it was reported that they broke up, but then she like went rogue and she followed like all of his, his enemies. I was like, okay, girl, like we see you, you're mad. She followed all his enemies and then she just deleted her account, which was probably for the best, right? But she just came back like a couple of weeks ago, and her first post was this honestly very stunning photograph of her with her red hair. She also coordinated her eye makeup. It's kind of this like brown sable, almost like with these reddish golden undertones. She looked so beautiful. So she posted that, and the caption was Queen of Wands, nothing else, two little star emojis. And then 2 days ago, she posted Ace of Cups and the Star. And the first photo, it's like both are carousels, but the first photo in this carousel is her body. And if you guys have been kind of keeping up with her, she recently talked about, I think it was on Extra TV. She was interviewed on the red carpet for the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition event because she was one of the cover models. And in the interview, she talked about her body dysmorphia, which is something that she's never opened up about. And so she got kind of vulnerable. So it was interesting to me that she posted the photo of her body with the Ace of Cups and the star. And I was like, we've got to interpret this. If Megan Fox is speaking in tarot, we're going to figure out what's going on. So here is kind of the tarot tea on these posts and what I think is going on in her life. So for the first post, oh, and then by the way, then we're going to tell you how to do your own readings so that you can like get inspired for yourself with your tarot cards. Okay, so let's start with the Queen of Wands. So the Queen of Wands in the tarot is this card that represents your ego, but like in a positive way. It's like coincides with the sign of Leo. It's about the sun, where the sun is shining in your life. Because when your ego is healthy, you are just showing up as the person that you're meant to be. So that's really what this Queen of Wands energy represents in tarot. It's being who you're meant to be in this life. It's showing up with joy, happiness, following your passion, following the things that just really light you up. And I thought that was really interesting. In all of these photos, it's just her. She's being solo. So I think she is in her really coming into her own era. If you're ever doing a reading for yourself or for someone else, wands are just, it's always passion. It's the energy, it's the life force and the drive that we have inside of us that pushes us forward. Leadership and independence. That's another one. So, which by the way, independence, right? This is why we're going to do a tarot card reading because I don't know, like, was this her way of communicating without saying what's going on in her personal life? Possibly. It would be a clever way to do that. But yeah, leadership, independence. The Queen of Wands is the most independent card in the deck because it's about following your own sense of self. It's about not allowing other people or situations to kind of like dampen your flame. And if there's anything toxic in your life, this card represents freeing yourself from any of that toxicity. There's also a sunflower on the card. And this is like kind of a fun fact about sunflowers, which is why it's like one of my favorite flowers ever. If I ever see them, I'm like, oh, I got to get those for the house. Sunflowers represent your solar plexus chakra in like, when we're talking about spirituality and things like that. And the solar plexus is located right above your belly button, and that's your center of will and motivation. So the color yellow, think happiness, think motivation. It's just like a pure, joyful energy. And that is physically depicted on this card. So it's very positive. And then last but not least, this is a card of creativity, expansion, also attracting attention and being in the spotlight for things that make you special. So I love it. I was like, okay, that's beautiful. We love to see that that is the energy she's putting out into the world. And then at the one from a couple of days ago, Ace of Cups and the Star. And on your own, like on their own, separately in a reading, these are both really positive cards. But when you combine them, it kind of shifts their meaning a little bit. And when you put these two together, this is like a communication of her just like saying to the world that she is healing. The Star card is all about healing after difficulty. It's not just being in the spotlight necessarily. It's about someone who is picking themselves back up by their bootstraps and shining. It's like it's a really beautiful card. It's just like healing, moving forward in your life, walking into your destiny. That's another interpretation of the card. And then when you put that together with the Ace of Cups, that's emotional fulfillment. So, guys, if I had to interpret these last like two posts, we're gonna have the tarot T kind of cleared up for us with a reading. But I'm going to say, I think she's telling everyone that she may be single and ready to walk her own path in life. And if not, it could just be that she is showing up as her true full self in any of her relationships. But yeah, so we love that card. It's about hope. Like I said, this reading, hope, emotional contentment, renewal, healing, inspiration, spiritual growth. These are the main themes, and we love to see it. So good for her. Also, very cool. I commented, I was like, you're giving I was like, I support speaking in tarot cards. It's giving big Empress energy because it is. And if you guys are watching or seeing this on YouTube, I'm wearing my Dolly Parton Empress tarot card shirt in honor of Megan Fox. So you go, girl. All right. So when we come back after this break, we're going to talk about where you can find all of your talents and gifts in your birth chart. So go ahead and pull that up during the break. Let's talk about talents and gifts and how you can find them in your birth chart using astrology. So, this is one of my favorite things to do with astrology because you can really use astrology in so many ways. You can use it to predict the future. You can use it to look into, some of the things that you're needing to overcome in life. You can, like, I don't know, there's just tons of ways you can use astrology, but I think one of the most productive ways that really help us to like foster a greater sense of like self-love, self-appreciation and kindness towards ourselves and other people is to realize our gifts and walk our path, live our purpose, right? So, let's talk about how you can do that. There are a few placements that kind of stand out for me, although your entire chart is something that you like want to interpret as a whole, but if you're just kind of getting started trying to identify those gifts, those talents, here's what I want you guys to look at. So I want you to look at first your rising sign and your sun sign, because those combined are going to tell you about the gifts that are a little bit more obvious to you and to others. And we are going to pump Megan Fox up a little bit here, and we're going to use her chart. So if we're talking about Megan Fox's birth chart, she has her sun in Taurus and her rising sign is Capricorn. So when we look at both of these together as a whole, looking for the talents and gifts, we're going to look at the positive qualities that both of these signs have. So Taurus and Capricorn are actually very compatible signs. So if you have really compatible sun and ascendant, that means that you're kind of what you see is what you get in certain aspects. And if yours are not alike at all, then that just means you have a few more layers to uncover. But for her, let's start with Taurus. Her gifts include being stable, having creative abilities. Taurus is associated with like Venus and creativity, but it's also very stable and solid. So this is like the solid manifestation of that Venus energy. So she is great at making her home beautiful, at dressing beautifully. She has an appreciation for like the finer things in life. But the blessing here is that she can really bring that into other people's lives as well. This is someone that you can trust when they tell you something. Taurus people tend to be very honest and straightforward, and they don't waver. Like if they tell you something that's going to be true today, it's going to be true tomorrow. Like you can really count on them. There's someone that you can rely on. So that's one of her great gifts. So she's got the beauty and you can also rely on them. Another fun one for Taurus people, if this is one of your placements, lucky you, they're great with finances. So it's really easy for them to accumulate wealth and then they're great at like investing it. They typically don't, they're not the people that you're going to see like, where are they now? And they've like lost all their money. That's not going to be someone with major Taurus placements typically, because Taurus people, they just have a natural knack for knowing how to make their money and knowing how to make their money grow and continue to grow. So they bring stability into their lives and the lives of their family members, which is really cool. And then, okay, if we look at her ascendant is Capricorn. And so this means that like the way that she views the world, your ascendant is how you view the world. And if someone has their ascendant in the sign of Capricorn, they view the world in a very practical manner. So these people are really good at seeing the value of something. Again, it's very similar to Taurus energy. Both are earth signs, but they're able to see like, how can I make this into something that can be built into something even better? So they are very financially savvy. Capricorn, I like to call them like the big boss of the zodiac, because they are very business minded. If you know a Capricorn, you know this to be true. They're always thinking like, okay, how can I build something out of this? How can I make it better? What are the practical steps I need to take? And how can I lead my team or my group or my friends into something better for themselves? They're represented by the goat climbing up the mountaintop. So these people do tend to have they tend to be very familiar with hardship, even if you may not know that about them right away. And I think that she started to open up about that. But because they are so familiar with hardship, they're great at overcoming obstacles and they give really good advice. So if you ever need advice from somebody, I'm just going to say, ask a Capricorn, ask a Taurus, ask a Virgo if you need like someone to give you a hug, because earth signs are just good at dealing with real world problems and they typically enjoy helping other people too. So, okay, we love that. We love to see that. So, that's the first place you guys want to look at your sun and your ascendant sign. And if you guys are listening and you're not quite sure, pull up the old Google or maybe use Chat GPT. We've been loving that lately over here. Just figure out like what are the positive qualities of this sign. And then you want to just really internalize that so you can appreciate yourself more. All right, next we have your North Node and South Node placements. Now, these are kind of misinterpreted and misunderstood when it comes to astrology, but it's not as difficult as it sounds. So, your South Node in your birth chart is going to tell you all of the qualities that you came into this life with. It's everything that you are just naturally skilled at. And then your North Node is where you're going and like what you're building. So, that tells you about your destiny and like all of your potential. And the key here to finding your talents and gifts is balancing those two. So again, we're going to use Megan Fox as an example. We're going to turn to her birth chart. She has her South Node in Libra and her North Node in Aries. And that's mine as well, by the way. And that tells us that when she just kind of naturally, she's good at those Libra qualities of wanting things to be harmonious. She is a good mediator. Libras are great mediators. They make really good lawyers. They make really good, they're good at anything that involves like bringing groups of people together. They can typically see multiple sides and find whatever's going to motivate everyone so that they can get on the same page. So she's great at that. But Libras are also associated with the seventh house of partnership. So they typically want to partner up right away. They are not the type to like go solo. Another Libra, okay, Kim Kardashian, she demonstrated this. I think there was like a meme or a GIF or something going around a while ago where she would change with every person that she would date. And I gotta say, give the Libras a break here because they do that from a good place. It's like they're doing that because they really want to be a team, and so they're like, oh, they can kind of be chameleons. They tend to morph themselves into whatever is best for the team instead of for themselves, and that's part of the challenge, though, when that's your South Node, because your South Node tells you your gifts, but it also tells you places where you need to find that balance. And so that's balanced by the North Node in Aries, which is where she's headed. And I've got to tell you, the red hair, I think that that is a clear sign that she's on that North Node path because Aries associated with the color red, associated with the head and the hair. If you really like get into it, I'm just going to say, I think she's definitely on the path. So it'll be interesting to see what happens for her in the next couple of years. But your North Node in Aries would tell you, that you need to make sure that you remain an individual, that you focus on those leadership qualities that are so inherent in Aries people. Aries people are great at like doing something that's never been done before. They don't need a partner. They don't need a teammate. They are the opposite polarity of Libra energy. So, whereas Libra is going to be like, what's best for you? Like, what do you want to do? Aries is going to be like, I'm doing this. You're welcome to come, or you don't have to. Bye. Like, so it's just very different. So for her, she is learning to balance between needing to like having this need to please everybody and really enjoying when everybody's getting along and learning to go on her own path, learning that it's okay to have your own individual wants and needs. And as long as you use those South Node gifts of communicating that and, remaining mindful of other people, that you can still be an individual and go on that Aries North Node vibe, which I totally resonate with. We get you, girl. Okay, so that's the other one. Look at your South and North Node and think about, how can I balance these two things in my life? Then, okay, last but not least, you want to look at your Chiron placement. And this is going to be very counterintuitive because we've talked about Chiron before on the show, just a little bit. But Chiron is like the wounded healer in astrology. That's the archetype. And that means that like this is the place in your birth chart where you've typically been wounded or you have like some sort of insecurity. And we all have it somewhere in our charts. So this is something though that you can work with and overcome. Like I totally think of it as the hero's journey. Like we all have that hero's journey thing where it's like the person starts off and then they overcome a big obstacle. It's like every single hero movie. And then, they think that they're doing great and then something else happens. But then at the end, they've triumphed, they've learned a big lesson, and they're inspired, and it inspires everybody watching and listening to the story. That is your hero's journey. You find that with your Chiron placement, and you want to know the house and the sign that Chiron is in. So I thought it was really interesting that Megan was talking about her body dysmorphia because since that happened during Gemini season, we're in Gemini season, and I believe Venus was in Gemini when she communicated this because actually, it definitely was because Venus just moved into Leo yesterday. So, okay, I promise it's important. Stick with me, guys. So, her Chiron is located in Gemini in the sixth house. And that means that her biggest thing that she wants to overcome in this life, which is the potential and the opportunity to really like thrive and turn this struggle into a gift, is in her sixth house of wellness, health, day to day activities. Like, I can't. It's because, okay, it's your body, like all those things, how you take care of your body. And Gemini is communication. So the way for her to heal this, and I'm sure she knows this because she's very into astrology and tarot, clearly, but the way to heal this is to communicate. Gemini is the communicator. We talked about this in the last episode too. Gemini is all about communication, messaging, just being open with other people, being your true self, trying new things, not being afraid, not feeling small, to just share who you really are with the world. And so for her best way to heal this and her greatest opportunity in this lifetime to embrace this potential gift is to communicate about her sixth house struggles with her wellness and her body. Like, you just can't, astrology in the wild, you just can't make this stuff up. So That's for her. So for her, she has to learn to be okay with having that struggle because Chiron in your chart, wherever it is located for you, and I'm sure once you see it, you'll be like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I do kind of struggle there," or like that's something that I've thought about before. It's just kind of going to confirm it for you. That's typically what astrology does with your birth chart. It just kind of confirms what you already know to be true about yourself. So wherever you see that, I would say let's do a little journal exercise. Maybe take a little time and write about that. Write about where is it that you have experienced a struggle in this area of your life, which is told to you by the house, in this like vibe with this general energy, which would be Gemini for her or whatever it is for you. Just apply that and think about how you can overcome it. What are things that would take you maybe out of your comfort zone that you know that you can try? Because for her, I watched this Entertainment Tonight interview before recording at our little in the Cards and Stars happy hour. I watched the interview because I was curious about what she said, like from her own in her own words, right? I wanted to hear her communication, that Gemini energy. I didn't want to just like read it from a third party source. And she was really earnest and heartfelt. And she said that being in the public eye, it's a struggle for her with her body because she's always had insecurities. And when it's under a microscope, she feels so nervous. And it just like it really plays on her mental well-being. And the interviewer was like, "Well, but are you so excited to be here? Like, what are you gonna do when you go into the party?" Trying to like get the energy up. And she said, "Well, I'm probably gonna go in there, cry for a second, then come out and do it all again." I was like, "Oh my gosh." But you know what? That is what she is actually supposed to do if she's living her birth chart full out, is communicate that vulnerability. Because when we do that, when we embrace that vulnerability, it becomes a strength because not only is she inspiring herself in a certain way to like have that self-acceptance, which heals the Chiron wound, she's inspiring other people who are watching that may also struggle with body image issues. So we see how it can become something really positive and just helpful, not only for yourself, but for the world. So I thought that was really, really cool. Okay. So that is what we want to be doing, you guys. We want to look at the gifts in our birth chart. We want to find what those are and we want to become more mindful of them because I did like an interview last week with an author, Dr. Shayna, for my television show, Zen TV. And she's a self help author or a self love author, excuse me. She is a psychiatrist. She has studied mental health and just extensively. And she wrote this workbook called the Self Love Workbook. And it got me thinking about, you know, how important self love is for all of us. It's not just like the hashtag, we all see that and it's like, okay, I'm going to take a bubble bath, but it's so much deeper than that. And I feel like you can connect that to your birth chart as well. And once you do that, it just gives you like that extra information to add a little piece to the puzzle so that you can recognize what an amazing, beautiful, unique soul you are. Okay, so that was fun. Now we're going to do a little bit of a tarot tea time. It is Gemini season, so we're going to spill a tiny little bit of tea when we come back after this break. Okay. And I just realized I forgot to tell you guys how to do your own tarot reading for yourself because I have a feeling that Megan Fox did that for herself. So let's talk about that first. And then we're going to do a little tarot tea time on Megan Fox to see about her relationship with Machine Gun Kelly and if that's still on or if that's off. All right. So if you ever want to do a tarot reading for yourself to get inspired, to figure out what it is that you need, all you have to do, it's don't be intimidated. Again, so many people are like, how do you do that? I could never do that. Well, intuition and doing things like this, it really is just a muscle. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it. And we all have intuition innately. So, what you want to do is get your little deck and you want to ask yourself questions or ask the cards, your angels, spirit, questions like, what is it that I need to know right now? What is the advice that you would have for me in my life right now? What energy do I need to be embodying to be my highest self at this moment? So like those types of questions and then just pull a card and if you don't know how to read the cards yet, then Google it and you'll see what the meaning is and then you can apply it to your own life and I love to couple it with journaling because I feel like that's when we can really open up a different perspective and we can get to a different layer of our psyches there. So let me know if you guys do that and what, like, kind of like what comes through for you. All right, so let's do reading for Megan though. We are going to see what the relationship is like with Machine Gun Kelly because all of these cards were really that she posted about on Instagram were really about her healing and her independence. So I know tabloids have said that they are back together, even though she's not wearing her ring. Let's see the truth or the tarot tea alleged truth. All right, so we are going to pull a card for the past of their relationship. What was their relationship like in the past? What was going on? Okay. Page of Cups. So this is like a new beginning in love and relationships, which 1000%, I think that can be so true. We're going to read this from Megan's perspective, by the way, since this episode's kind of about her. She kind of inspired a whole episode. Page of Cups is about like starting fresh with a new relationship. It doesn't necessarily tell us anything about like the quality of the relationship or the depth or like the longevity. But what it does tell us is that there was a complete fresh start here. And I think we all see that to be true because she went from her long-term marriage with Brian Austin Green to dating Machine Gun Kelly when they met on the set of that film, something in the Switchgrass or whatever. They met, they started dating immediately. She was going through the divorce, and then it was like just no holds barred, like engaged on every red carpet, making out. Like, it was a lot, right? It was kind of a lot. But that was a fresh start. So she was kind of just coming into a completely different place with her approach to love and relationships. I think that's okay, totally true. Page of Cups, fresh start in emotions and relationships. Okay, and then let's see where she's at now. And I swear, if one of those cards comes through, that was all that she posted, I'm gonna freak out. Almost, almost. 9 of Pentacles. Oh, wait, no, that was 10 of Cups and shit. Okay, but 9 of Pentacles. So, just like the Taurus, Capricorn, Sun, and Ascendant that we explored earlier, 9 of Pentacles is all about your money, honey. So, this tells us that she is really focused on her money, her well being, her material security. And if you look at her, if you guys have ever seen this Golden Girls tarot deck, or if peep on YouTube or Instagram or something, you'll see that this is Blanche from the Golden Girls sitting back. She's got a mimosa. She is just loving her life. I mean, the character of Blanche is, very much focused on herself and her well being. She's the one, by the way, that owned the house that all the other Golden Girls rented from. So, with Megan Fox getting this card, I think that in the present, yes, she is experiencing that emotional fulfillment that she posted about, that healing, obviously. But I think at the root of it is her really focusing on, her coin, really, like wanting to create a sense of stability where she doesn't have to depend on anyone else. And in this card, this person is like Blanche is very fulfilled and like pleased with herself. Okay, so we love that. Good. Good for you. Build that stability. It comes naturally to her. And what's the future? And this let's do like 6 months into the future. And this is specifically with Machine Gun Kelly now. Notice we haven't gotten like any there hasn't been any like men. There's been nothing that's come through that's indicated a relationship. So that's interesting. Okay. The Chariot. Okay. So in this card, this is Blanche again, but she's got like two hunks pulling a chariot cart, like a chariot cart. So she's moving forward. I would say that this might mean moving forward in dating, but let's get another one to clarify, specifically with Machine Gun Kelly. What is the future like for these two? Ooh, okay. Four of Swords, healing. I think we're just going to put this down today as the prediction. We'll remember this when and if it comes true. The Chariot and the Four of Swords. So she's going to be moving on and healing. I do not think that they are going to get back together. I don't think they're even together right now at all. I think that they are friendly, and for the sake of like their reputations, for their careers in the press, I don't think either of them want to like deal with a major storm right now or to like have to process their feelings in public. So I think they're keeping it cordial, but the truth is she's focused on herself and she's going to be moving forward and healing. Let's get one card for him just while we're here. How does he feel about all of this, about this new energy, this new star card, Queen of Wands energy that Megan has? How is he feeling? How's he feeling about the breakup? All of it. Ooh, 10 of Wands. Okay, so this is someone with a bunch of like sticks on their back, wands on their back, and this represents a burden. Now, it is a burden worth having, though. So let's get a clarifier. So this is a burden to him. The burden worth having, that makes me think that maybe he is supportive on some level. The moon. So this is actually a very spiritual card. And I would say that he is ready to let go. The moon is emotional and spiritual. Like I said, 10 of Wands, this is a burden worth having. I think that he is probably feeling like it's a burden that she's gone, like it's not something that he feels happy about. We didn't get anything really joyful coming through, but it is like an acceptance that emotionally and intuitively, like this wasn't something that was going to work. And that this is something, 10 of Wands, that he is ready to and will work through. So, okay, you know what? We love to see it. That's what a karmic relationship does for you. I feel like relationships are reason, season, lifetime. So they probably had a reason that only the two of them understand. And hopefully there was a lot of soul growth there. Okay. Woo. Well, there we go. You guys, this was fun. I hope you enjoyed the readings, and I hope that you really take some time to look into your birth chart and give yourself a little bit of love. You're worth it. You deserve it. And I will see you guys next week for another episode.